Alright, there we go. I don't know if that's working. Let's just hope that it's working. Alright, long story long. Okay. In the wise words of our good friend Daniel,
hello viewers.
I'm from about a month in the future. Not going to tell you where. You might be able to work it out from all of this, but basically it came time for me to edit from Albania after a week in North Macedonia, and like it's happened before, we didn't film anything. So I'm gonna just fill you in on how we got around the Balkans and where in the Balkans we went to and where we stayed and how long we stayed and how much the transport cost and stuff like this. Okay? You've seen some of the footage and I'll put some clips in here as well. But basically we left Istanbul. We left Istanbul and we caught the train from Istanbul to Plovdiv, Bulgaria. That trip took about 14 hours. It was scheduled to be about 10 or 12, and just because there was some border crossings and whatnot, it took a little bit longer. We booked those tickets in Istanbul at the train station. They were 36 euros each person. We had a 2-berth bed, cabin, so just the two of us, 2 bunk beds, nice and private, rather comfortable. I'm just going to tell you the euro cost, and then I'll put the little thing at the bottom telling you how much that costs in US dollars and Australian dollars, and then just take those numbers and convert it to whatever your currency is if you're looking from somewhere else. But basically, yeah, so Bulgaria, we spent about a week and a half. It was about 4 or 5 days in Plovdiv, 4 or 5 days in Sofia. We got off that train really early. We stayed in Plovdiv. While we were in Plovdiv, I went to the train station in Plovdiv and got tickets for us a couple of days later from Plovdiv to Sofia, Bulgaria. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria. That trip took about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours on the train. It's one of the local sort of regional Bulgarian trains, and that cost just less than 5 euros each person. Fairly comfortable. That was where there was like 3 seats on that side, 3 seats on this side. There was a old lady in the corner and another younger lady in our little cabin booth. But yeah, that was fairly easy. And fairly cheap. It was sort of from there that there wasn't any more trains, or reading online, Balkans has been the hardest place for me to work out how we were getting around. So yeah, anyway, we spent a few days in Sofia, and then I used getbybus.com. I'm pretty sure it's .com, but yeah, getbybus. If you Google that, you'll find a little bus aggregate price listing, schedule listing website. I hadn't used this yet. Normally I would be using, what's the other one? BusBud. That's what I've been using in Turkey. Now, these, I'll have you know, were the most expensive buses, trips, transport we'd booked yet on this entire trip. Normally, Central Asia and Georgia and that, it was no more than a few dollars for 5 hours on the little minibuses, marshrutkas and that. The Balkans was definitely the most dear, so don't take this as me boasting about how much we spent and this and that. It's just that you read online that a lot of these places are, the cheapest in the world or the cheapest in Europe, and sure, they might be the cheapest in Europe, but for everything else, but the transport costs, definitely not. Getting around was not difficult, but there was sort of only one option a lot of the time the times of those options, as for like what time in the day we'd be leaving and arriving, and things weren't as good as they could be. You know, it's either really early, like 5-6 o'clock in the morning, leaves, and then you arrive at 11, where then our bookings wouldn't accept us into the room until 2 or 3 o'clock, and we're just kind of muzzing around waiting for time to pass. So from Sofia to Skopje, that bus was booked on Get By Bus. That was a 5-hour trip over the border. There was some formalities at the border crossing, which also you've seen between Bulgaria and Macedonia. Those tickets were the most expensive of the ones I'm mentioning today, which was 26 euros each. For a 5-hour trip, okay, you know, it works out all right, but especially compared to what we'd been used to, dearest yet. Absolutely dearest yet. I don't like spending that much, but like I said, that was kind of the only option that there was for us. And we needed to leave Bulgaria, so that was the option we had to take. Obviously flights would have been more, and then you're spending 35 minutes in the sky and this kind of thing. So the bus was okay in that case, but yeah, I was quite tempted to just hitchhike it. At the end of the day, we decided, nah, it's fine, let's just keep it comfortable and we'll book the buses. So yeah, that got us to Skopje. We spent a few days in Skopje. It was just less than a week. Then we decided we were thinking about going up to Pristina, and I'll explain why we didn't in a moment, but Pristina is Kosovo, which is sort of at the bottom of Serbia, and that's fairly close by, and we were going to head up there, but we decided against it. And so instead of going up to Pristina, and we would have ultimately had to go to Pristina and back down to Skopje and then onwards, so we decided to we'll just keep heading west, and we went from Skopje to Ohrid. Ohrid's sort of, there's this big lake in the south of North Macedonia, that sort of half the lakes in North Macedonia, half the lakes in Albania, and we went down to Ohrid. That bus, Skopje to Ohrid, was with the company Macedonia Skubracaj, however you say that. That was a 3-hour trip, and those cost €12.50. The trip from Sofia to Skopje had us in like an oversized minibus, so you know, I don't know, there's probably 18 seats or so. Not a bus, or a coach or anything, whereas the one from Skopje to Ohrid, the cheaper one, was a proper coach, big coach, and we got them online with Get By Bus as well, and yeah, like I said, €12.50 for those ones, much more comfortable, and we only spent, I think, two or three nights in Ohrid. It was raining the whole time we were there, and there is videos for that. Then basically, after Ohrid, the part that I'm filling in here, that didn't have any footage, we didn't film, unfortunately, and I'm not entirely sure why we didn't film, but like I said, when I'm looking at reviewing what I have to edit and everything, I saw that there was 4 or 5 clips from Albania, so yeah, this will be the Albania video, even though I'm not in Albania, and it's been about a month, well, probably a bit more than a month since we were in Albania, but this is going to be it, and I'll keep explaining where we went. From Ohrid, down in the south of Macedonia, we caught another bus that took us across the Albanian border, and that was a 3.5-hour bus for €18. Again, coach rather than the minibus. That one I'm pretty sure was the really early in the morning one. We normally would get a taxi from wherever we're staying in town to the bus depot, the bus, you know, thing, and often those big bus stations are sort of just on the outskirts of the main town, so this one being quite an early one, I think it was like a 5:45 or a 6 o'clock in the morning trip. There was no taxis out in Ohrid, so we had to leg it, and we ran about 4 kilometers, well, not ran, but walked a good couple of k's all the way to that bus stop, and got on that 3.5-hour trip, no problem. That had us arriving in Tirana. New country, new language again, and we stayed in Tirana for 2 days, and that's where the transport options changed again. I'm pretty sure there is a website, I'll put it down there, that we could have gotten tickets on, but the tickets were really overpriced. Albania, out of these three that I'm talking about, Albania, Macedonia, North Macedonia and Bulgaria, Albania was the one that we were most used to, the bus transport system, because it was very similar to that of Central Asia and the Caucasus, where it's kind of, you just rock up at the bus stop. There's a whole bunch of dudes with minibuses and bigger minibuses and cars ready to taxi you to any which direction of the country, and often a lot cheaper. They kind of sit there, they wait until they're basically full, and then they set off. At first, like when we were first doing this in Kyrgyzstan and, you know, Kazakhstan and such, we were kind of hesitant because, like, I don't know, I'm the kind of guy that likes my stuff to be sort of planned and ready. I've got my thing booked in, I know what time I need to be there, we can be there. Bags are underneath and all this kind of thing. So at first it's pretty daunting, but actually I would rather that and the price difference that comes with that system than I would be paying €26 on a coach that's not a coach and is basically the same thing for 7 times the amount. So anyway, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying I'm kind of glad that we were able to have that option of that sort of more come when you're ready and go when the bus is full kind of thing. So those I paid in cash and weren't booked online. We left our apartment in Tirana, the capital of Albania, and we caught a taxi that, 5-10 kilometers or whatever it is to the big bus depot. You can often find it on maps. I'll put a little thing there because I think Tirana, out of everywhere on the entire trip, was the hardest to find on maps or find out which one you meant to go to. It's not always as easy as just typing in bus stop, bus station, major, main bus station. A lot of places that is what you can do, but not there anyway. From Tirana we went to Vlore, so there's a few places you could go and visit in the north of Albania. We decided to go down the coast a little bit south from Tirana to a place called Vlore. It was really nice down there. We spent about a week there, sort of just relaxed a bit and watched some telly, and like I said, it was starting to rain a bit, sort of at the beginning of December. Yeah, anyway, so getting to there from Tirana was a matter of, going to the bus stop and saying Vlore. They often have little stickers on the front of the car that says where they're going to, and they often have it in local language and English. Then you either pay the guy at the start or you pay the guy at the end, but just confirm how much it is. Occasionally they ask you for a little extra because you put your our big backpacks in the back. I don't think that happened in Albania, but they cost us 400 lek, which is the local Albanian currency, which works out to be, I think, about €4. I will say that 400 lek is more than likely the winter price. I think in summertime you're probably looking at it being closer to 600 lek per person, per seat, per traveller, which isn't much. And compared to Sofia to Skopje, it's significantly cheaper and a lot more affordable for anyone. So we spent about a week in Vlore, and then we did the same thing back. So when we got off the bus in Vlore, I marked the spot where we were when we got off the bus, and literally just went back to that same place. And when we were leaving with our bags on, without booking anything ahead or without even going to see if that's where they go back from, and quickly got pointed in the right direction to see a little lineup of these minivans that were all heading back to Tirana. Some of them were going further south again, but there was a few going up to Tirana, and as usual, those ones, we don't normally wait more than 20 minutes to half an hour when they're ready to go. Sort of like, you go at key times like 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m. That's normally they have like a mild schedule, but otherwise it's when they fill they go. And if you're on your own, you might be waiting a little bit longer because they have only filled one seat. But with the two of us, then it's often it's pretty quick moving from there. Now, after that, so yeah, like I said, between Istanbul and us leaving Albania, we had about 3.5 weeks. Our next destination after Albania was and is Rome. So the next videos will be in Rome, and as usual, in our usual video fuck around, we don't actually know how we're getting there, or we have 7 different ideas or plans as to how we can get there. Very, very initially, you know, when I was first planning this entire trip, we weren't meant to come to the Balkans, first off, but then second off, I was very much keen on the idea of catching a ferry across the water into the sort of the south of Italy. So whether that was going to be from the western side of Greece and up towards Italy, or from Albania across the water, and then sort of making our way up towards Rome overland. Again, based on prices, based on being a little less planned out than I normally am, it now being sort of 8 months into this entire journey, you know, you kind of get caught up with what you've planned out properly, and then things get a little muddled up. But basically, it was a lot cheaper for us to just fly. Then looking at where we wanted to go in the Balkans after adding that on, and where... Oh, that'll give away where I am, if you can hear that, I'm not sure. Well, to a certain degree, they do that in a lot of different places, but yeah, that'll give you a good old hint. So, getting to Rome. From Istanbul to arriving in Rome, we had 3.5 weeks. The reason that was kind of locked in plan was because while we were in Istanbul, we'd booked where we were staying in Rome for the 4 or 5 days that we were staying there. If anyone's gone to Rome, they know that it's quite difficult to find especially an affordable place in the center of Rome, or at least on the train line, on the main train line, metro line. And so yeah, we'd booked that kind of a month and a half ahead of time, which we don't do. Normally it's 3 days or a week before we're booking the next step of our journey, and working out how we're getting there and working out where we're staying. So this was the first time that had happened, where we booked something in so far ahead. And we did plan on seeing more of the Balkans, but then with the cost of these bus tickets, even though, okay, so I will say that, like, as expensive as these bus tickets were, and as much as I don't like paying that much for fucking anything, let alone the transport for 4 hours, you know, if it's a 12-hour trip, I'll pay what it costs, you know. If it's a 3-4 hour thing, it's not worth more than $10, really, I'm sorry to say it. Especially if it's not a coach, there's even less. It's not fair, really. Nonetheless, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Albania were fairly cheap. I wouldn't say the cheapest on the trip. Definitely not the most expensive on the trip, especially the next upcoming couple of countries that we visited. Being Rome and after Rome, you'll see. So, like, the fact that the transport costs were rather high was somewhat exchanged or equated for by the fact that our eating out or our accommodation was reasonably priced. We decided on Vlore because we found a place that was, you know, less than half our usual per night spending for our accommodation. And yeah, we had 3.5 weeks, so then we could kind of make up the costs that we're spending on transport to help us stay here for a week and save by staying here for a week, if you know what I mean. Ultimately, I would have really liked to go to Pristina. I would have really liked to go to Belgrade, Serbia. I would have very much liked to go all the way up to Bosnia and Herzegovina. So reason we didn't was because the bus prices were even more dear than what we'd already paid just getting to Albania. So then going from Albania north to Bosnia through Montenegro, it would have been even more dear. So we decided, okay, perhaps, you know, we're travelers, we'll come back here one day, that's no problem with us. And we decided to just stay put. We'll do these three: Bulgaria, North Mac, and Albania. We'll take our time, we'll enjoy it, we'll eat as much food as we can, and we'll get on to Rome. So that also worked out in our favor, because the cheapest tickets flying to Rome were from Tirana. The next cheapest were from Belgrade. So perhaps if that was the other way around and Belgrade had cheaper flights, we would have maybe gone from North Macedonia up through Kosovo into Serbia and flown to Rome that way, skipping Albania. I'll know that for next time at least. And like, this is the thing, I explain this and I don't expect many other people to be doing the trip we're doing. But, you know, if you're going from Istanbul to Bulgaria, I hope that I can fill you in on that much. If you need to get from Plovdiv to Sofia, just catch the regional train in Bulgaria. If you need to get from Sofia to Skopje, again, most expensive bus, but Get By Bus has tickets and it's fairly easy to book them online. Go to Ohrid, it's really cool. Skopje we really liked as well. Getting to Albania was okay. Getting south in Albania is sort of less formal. Can't book them online, go do that. And then if you're visiting Albania and you're going to Rome afterwards, or if you're from Rome and you're visiting Albania, then I'll have you know that at the time we flew, which like I said was a month ago, the cheapest flights were from Albania. They were Wizz Air, and I think they cost us like €80 each with our baggage included. You know, we've got the big rucksacks, so they go and checked in baggage. And so it'll be even cheaper if you've just got a single carry-on bag. We've been on the road for nearly a year and plan to be for probably another year. So yeah, we check in the bags when we do those few flights we do have. Yeah, we safely landed in Rome. I apologize that I didn't have a lot of footage for Albania itself. Tirana was a really cool city. The language is abnormally awesome. I think it's probably one of the most interesting spoken cultures and languages that we've experienced on this entire trip. Just in the way it sounds and the way things are pronounced and everything. It was bizarre, really. I loved it. Food was good. It was like, there was a lot of crepes and a lot of pizza, and seemingly there was a lot of Italian food influence. Yeah, out of the three, Bulgaria was probably, like, in terms of going to a restaurant or in terms of sort of what you can buy in the grocery store and that, I'd say that Bulgaria was probably the most expensive of the three, with, yeah, Albania coming in at a very close second. They might have even been pretty much on par, and North Macedonia very much so being the cheapest of the three of them. What else? Oh, in Albania, there are no ATMs, feeless ATMs, not for me anyway. I use MasterCard, and I always get cash out. I don't do the exchanging thing where you go to the exchange guy and just swap over your euro or whatever. I always just get cash out, and Albania was the only place on this entire journey, which by Albania would probably be, what, 15 countries, I think? Out of all 15 before Albania, I could always find feeless ATMs, even if there was just one, you know. Like months ago in Tajikistan, I did have some trouble, but there was eventually the one bank that I could go to and get feeless cash out. I don't even mind paying a fee, but on top of there not being any feeless ATMs, Albania was also the place that had the highest exchange fees. We're talking like, I don't know, it was like €8 some of the time. I think the cheapest I found was €6, and it was also that where, like, if you get out, you know, €50 worth, or you get out €500 worth from the ATM, it's the same fee. So, you know, in that case, getting out €500, you might be set. I don't like carrying that much cash on me. And so, that was a bit hard, but yeah, you kind of just got to cop it. And yeah, so I mean, ultimately we spent just more than a week in each of those 3 countries. If I had to choose one to go back to, it would be Bulgaria, and yeah, it all worked out in the end. Yeah, is that all? I've covered how we got around from Istanbul to Rome, the long way around, how long it took us, where we went, how much it cost to get between those places, and what we would have done differently, where else we could have gone. Yeah, I think that's it. It's getting dark out here. Yeah, once again, apologies that there was no real content from Albania. I know these ones are a little bit funny, where it's not our usual style of video, but there's a lot of good stuff coming from what we experienced in Rome. I feel like there was part of my brain while we were in Albania before going to Rome that sort of said, like, just chill out and don't worry too much, because we knew Rome would be kind of high-paced, or much higher paced than our usual thing. You know, normally we spend more than a week in each city, and normally visit more than one city in each country, but Rome was the only one we had our hearts set on in Italy. And just to remain as budget friendly as possible in a very unbudget friendly place like Rome, we only booked in 4 or 5 days, so we were obviously going to maximize as much of that time as we possibly could. Anyway, so love yous. Thank you for watching as always. Sherry's good. Hope you all had happy holidays. We're in a beautiful country right now. There's lots more content coming up, and see you in the next one.